We need one another. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All of our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us.
Thank you. Thank you for being together and coming out of a warm place into a very cold place and back into this warm place. I appreciate the dedication that shows and the community that creates on this very cold morning. I am thrilled to introduce first Reverend Leslie Trew and then soon, again, Reverend Bret Lortie. Reverend Leslie will share with us a reflection, and then we'll have a chance to sing again, and we'll hear from Reverend Bret. I have very much enjoyed spending time with Leslie these past days, and we just couldn't stop talking yesterday in the car, and we were marveling at that. In fact, I just want to say this is whenever I, in my life, have an opportunity to introduce Leslie, this story is going to be told, and I think you know which one it is. So you heard about the 10 rolls of insulation that Terry requested for the care and love that she provides at the yurt, and the very speedy dedication of Anne to provide those. Terry was mystified that it happened so fast. The thing is, I have a trunk that just doesn't need to be opened. And so we had these 10 rolls to fit into my car, and we got all 9 in the back, and there was one that was extra protection from the cold and the ice for Leslie as we rode all the way, the 2 of them in the passenger seat. So the 3 of us had an interesting conversation, and we sort of missed our third party on the way back home. So with that image of the grace and flexibility of Leslie, I welcome you.
I want to thank you for allowing us here this week. I want to thank everyone that I've met here in the congregation, that we met all during the week in conversation. And to thank you, Karen, for the expert car shuttle delivery service and for answering lots of the questions that the 3 of us peppered at you all week. And this has been an incredibly delightful and moving week. As Bret said, we're a 3-person team from the Unitarian Universalist response team, and we're deployed to a congregation at your request. Our team of Bret, Rosemary, and Rosemary sends her goodbyes, and she was disappointed she wouldn't be here this morning, but she needed to return to her home and work. I'm from near Seattle, Washington, on a little island, Vashon Island, and we recently relocated from Richmond, Virginia, where I was a chaplain at the Medical College of Virginia, which is a large level 1 trauma center. As the 3 of us, Bret, Rosemary, and I, were reflecting on our time here with you, and at the request of the Trauma Response Ministry, we calculated that we had met somewhere around 1/3 to 1/2 of the congregation. And you came out in sub-zero temperatures. Some of you like that, some of you don't. And you were gracious and hospitable and interested. I love cold weather. And I moved from Virginia. They don't really get cold weather that much. And on an island off of Seattle, we don't get cold weather that much. So I am delighted. And and I know not everyone likes it, but I miss my cold weather life. But getting back to you. So many of you came this week in support of your church, your ministry, your social action ministry, and the greater community. What we came away with is pure delight. And for our abiding thanks for such a healthy and functioning congregation. Take that in, breathe it in, a healthy church, a healthy congregation. You folks do church right. Your vision statement begins that you will be a vibrant, caring, spiritual community. As I look through your December newsletter, I see answer to calls from the congregation and community for a yurt, and that appears. And now the insulation. I saw that you bowled together for Christmas, and you sat by the Yuletide fire for the New Year. And I saw the transfer of some white Christmas tree lights to one of the, I stumble over not knowing what to call the Native Americans that I met, so I apologize. To one of the camp elders who seemed very thankful and pleased that he would have some white lights on his home. I see a vibrancy of your time and talents, as well as your financial gifts. Caring. I witnessed this between your members and your friends who came out at night on Saturday, including your board meeting even later on Saturday afternoon to attend to the church's important business and livelihood. And I certainly see a spiritual community. Some may bristle at the word spiritual. I'm not in tune with your congregation's bristling words, but I see a beloved community, however you define that. We witnessed a vibrant spiritual community. Your vision statement continues that you are a fellowship of free minds, welcoming all, a beacon of enlightenment and sanctuary, and offering a call to build a better self, community, and world. We have seen your beacon, and it shines brightly. You have somehow arranged home hospitality for what might seem as the multitudes, inviting unknown guests of varying personalities into your homes. Recently, you welcomed the president of the UUA, Peter Morales, and chief operating officer of the UUA, Harlan Lampert. The big guns, the big guys. There have been lots of UU guests, lots of guests not from our denomination. And guests that you probably don't know, may never see again, but you welcome these people. You are a beacon, a sanctuary. You are bringing your best selves. I keep losing my place. I'm sorry. I don't preach very often, so I apologize. You radiate outward as your best selves. And the larger community in your home knows that they can rely on you, of this small group of people joining something larger to write something in your corner of the world. You strive to seek a path for spiritual inquiry for people of all ages. I looked at the walls of your nursery and your RE room and other posters and pictures around the church, and these are filled with messages of hope, investigating our denomination, investigating the larger world. I hear your spiritual selves woven closely with your justice seeking. One is carried out by the other. Your justice seeking is carried and carrying your sense of spiritual justice. And I also heard questions from some members. Should we be involved so deeply in Standing Rock? Have we reached the place to let this part of our ministry go? Is enough enough? These are deep questions that your community will need to talk about, will need to wrestle with. And you will need to discern a path forward as a loving community. And as this perhaps contrary opinion about current involvement as Standing Rock was poised, I heard the question offered in love. I heard the question received in love. I heard that there is love for your congregation, love for the people here, and yes, things are going very right in this place. Even when there is a difference of opinion, it is spoken in love. And you are a welcoming congregation. I experienced the best self of this congregation. I have heard countless stories of taking in of strangers who have traveled to the prairie through the summers, now onto winter, to join with you and thousands of others in support of First Nations. I experienced a spiritual home for people of free faith, regardless of color, gender, affectional or sexual orientation, of age, of national origin, of socioeconomic status, and physical or mental ability. As Rosemary, Bret, and I talked about what we experienced this week, we kept coming back to the core concept of what we were experiencing as a vibrant, healthy congregation, a loving, functioning spiritual home. The congregation trusting their minister, the congregation trusting themselves. You are working to grow your congregation, expand your ministry of presence, and shine the beacon of Unitarian Universalism over the North Dakota prairie. May you flourish, and may it be so. Thank you.
I am very happy as well to introduce Bret, who many of us know as we've gotten to know Leslie. I'm choosing my favorite Bret story in the hope that I will have an opportunity to tell one again in the future, one or more. But I think I'll tell the one about, so Bret comes from Evanston. He actually comes from California and now is in Evanston most of the time. I was actually born in Evanston when my dad was in seminary, but enough about me. So we were, at the end of this week, we went to camp together, Rosemary, Bret, and I, and eventually it came time to leave and come back here and see us. And if those of you who've been there know about what happens with snow and when it melts a little and then stops melting at all and it gets really icy. And that exit ramp is possibly the highest point in the state of North Dakota, if we consider that the state of North Dakota, which many of us do not. But that's also another story. Anyway, on the fourth try, with Bret at the helm, we made it. So let that just be a parable. There may be other things, and I'm sure there are, that take the fourth try. Thank you for that, and for being here, and for listening to us so deeply. Welcome.
I thought you were going to tell the story about we had to stop at one point going out there because the car was vibrating so almost violently, and I'm out there in 10 below zero or whatever it was, crawling under the car to figure it. It turned out it was a giant piece of ice that was under the car, throwing it out of a line. It was an exciting day. And what it is a joy to be here with you. I don't think I've ever preached in Gore-Tex hiking boots before, but I feel right at home. I really do. And I have been out in the Midwest for the past 30 years of my life. Oh, there's a step. So I'm acclimated a little bit to the cold and enjoying it as well. I don't know why, but... So in our children's story this morning, we heard a story about a girl who puts her heart away in a bottle for self-keeping. There it's protected and it's safe, but it doesn't do her much good. The joy she used to feel in the world, in nature, even with others, it's gone. It isn't until she takes her heart back out of its protected place is she able to re-engage with life. It's unclear in the story why this happens. The story just says, one day she saw an empty chair. Early in the story, a man had sat in that chair, so we might infer that it's his absence that has caused this girl to retreat from life. But the story doesn't say that. It just says, one day she saw an empty chair. I'm visiting here today with the UU Trauma Response Ministry team, a team of dozens of UU ministers, mental health professionals, and other people in the helping professions that we deploy to congregations following or in the middle of traumatic events, or as we call them, critical incidents. We use the term critical incident because trauma is the result of something, perhaps not the thing itself. And there are many empty chairs. So we respond to a critical incident, the thing that has the potential to cause trauma. And people experience trauma in different ways following a critical incident based on their exposure to the incident, to their own life experience with past traumas, and a variety of other factors. Some people might experience a critical incident and walk away relatively unscathed, with a healthy support network that will leave them unscarred. Others might be even on the periphery of a critical incident and find themselves awash in its aftermath. We like to say that all of these are common responses to an uncommon situation. You have certainly been exposed to an uncommon situation. So what is a critical incident? What are the empty chairs that send us running to protect our hearts? I've responded to tornadoes, hurricanes, murder-suicides, and other acts of violence within congregations. But critical incidents can be other things, such as justice actions where violence has been used by the authorities. A critical incident can be an ongoing situation where violence is an ever-present potential to happen. That's what brings the UU Trauma Response Ministry team to Bismarck, North Dakota this week. Your congregation has been involved with the water protectors at Standing Rock in a significant way, housing supporters, moving supplies, providing logistical support, building a yurt. I've loved yurts for most of my adult life. That was just a highlight of Some of you have donated large amounts of time or funding to this actions. Others of you have been involved at the periphery, even as enthusiastic cheerleaders. Others of you might be ambivalent about the support, or even conflicted. In the business of addressing critical incidents, we would say you have all been exposed to the incident in a way that makes you susceptible to traumatic stress. What does traumatic stress look like? Insomnia, irritableness, couch potato disorder. I made that up. Hyperactivity, overeating, undereating, alcohol abuse, withdrawal from your normal routines or circles of support. The truth is, traumatic stress pops up in a variety of ways, and most are quite common. There's a handout that you can take when you leave. I put some in the little bin over there, and we can make some more copies that list many of the common responses to an uncommon situation. It's often good to just look through that sheet and go, oh, well, I've got 10 of the 30. I wonder what that's about, and to put some curiosity around your responses in this situation. It isn't just those most active in an incident who are affected. In fact, sometimes those most involved in the incident get the support that they need as they're going through it. And they're involved in a way that they're getting the whole experience. Sometimes those on the periphery are affected as they face difficult questions. Could I have done more? Am I a bad person if I don't agree with how everyone else seems to feel? What are we going to do next? Even having symptoms of stress can lead to stressful situations. Have I earned the stress level that I'm feeling? Am I worthy of this traumatic experience? Again, all common responses to an uncommon situation. In fact, just a quick story. When I was training for this team back in about 6 years ago, there was a mock scenario where we were going through. It was about a violent shooting. It was just a hypothetical situation. And we had been warned ahead of time to be aware that there could be trigger responses. And my response to that was like, oh, yeah. I've been through CPE, level 2 trauma, emergency room. I'm, Civil Air Patrol chaplain. I'm trained. Then I started shaking, sweating, getting that feeling of unease in my stomach. And I actually left the room as I felt tears coming. And as our protocol, as some of you learned the other night, that someone followed me right out the door, because we create these safe spaces where we don't want somebody going off, and we want to create safe space. And so somebody did that. And they asked if I was okay. I said no, but I can't figure out why, but don't worry, I understand that I just need a moment, and it will be okay. A couple of questions later, she wasn't going to leave it alone. She uncovered the fact, something I had forgotten, that just that last year, I had done 3 memorial services for young adults, 2 of whom had been killed violently in shooting incidents. Completely buried that. My empty chair had 3 occupants who weren't there, Devin, Rufus, and Scarlett. And this work helped me open my heart. A critical incident exposes our hearts. A tornado rips through town, a gunman opens fire in a church, a protest action grows larger than we feel we can handle or that we ever imagined. How can we handle the shock and stress of an incident? It's instrumental in our recovery. Our trauma ministry handout also has some healthy responses to stress. We don't just leave you, we just don't leave you with the symptoms. There's also some helpful hints. They may seem so self-evident, and you may have forgotten them. Eat, sleep, get some exercise if you can't sleep, because that sometimes is symptom. Talk to somebody about that. Get the external help that you might need. Go to the doctor and talk to them about what's going on with you. Keep coming to church. A lot of times people will self-isolate, and this is the place where, despite, as Leslie said, despite the differences of opinion, you have been held here for so long, and you will be in the future. We hear about post-traumatic stress in response to war or physical assault, but it can happen anytime our hearts are uncared for. And when we treat it right, we can do some good in preventing the traumatic stress from becoming post-traumatic stress. And that's part of what we're about as well. Our message is really simple. You've been through a lot as a congregation. You were asked to rise to feats most congregations never face. You should be immensely proud of yourself. And I'm so glad that we didn't actually know everything we were going to say because we were up last night doing our sermons or our reflections. You should be immensely proud of yourself. Okay, that's wrong. Oh, there it is. Okay. Unitarian Universalism has always been more powerful than its numbers. And you have proven that up here in Bismarck, North Dakota. You have made an immense impact in your support and even your understanding of what it means to be allies in a struggle. What you may be experiencing are common stress responses to situations like Standing Rock. No matter if you've been hit by a water cannon or you've had people in your community who you care about hit by water cannons. You might experience stress over the inner conflict you feel about this congregation's involvement, which means a bit of your heart is with them. That's part of being in community. That's what connects us. Our message may be simple, but it is your task ahead. Take care of yourselves, be good to your minister, be true to your values. And know this, you are not alone. Maybe so.
We affirm the unfailing renewal of life, rising from the earth and reaching for the sun, all living creatures shall fulfill themselves. We affirm the steady growth of human companionship, rising from ancient cradles and reaching for the stars, people the world over shall seek the ways of understanding. We affirm a continuing hope that out of every tragedy, the spirits of individuals shall rise to build a better world.